The film begins with a woman named Sonia, who suddenly wakes up from a terrifying nightmare, her face filled with fear and confusion. Sonia lives in a house deep in the woods with her husband and her young daughter Violet, far away from the city and any sense of comfort. Because her husband is a doctor and always at work, and Violet spends most of her day at school, Sonia is left alone in the house, slowly being consumed by loneliness and fear. As usual, she drops her daughter at school and returns home, but this time she feels unusually disturbed, as if something is not right. Later that evening, Violet returns home with her father, but even with his presence, Sonia feels emotionally distant from him. He is always busy, never giving her the time she needs, making it clear that their relationship is falling apart, and this only deepens her emotional state. That night, Violet watches Snow White on TV, where the witch forces the poisoned apple into Snow White's mouth, creating an unsettling atmosphere. After dinner, Sonia tucks Violet into bed, trying to comfort her. But Violet says something strange. She wants Eva to sleep with her. Confused, Sonia asks who Eva is, and Violet reveals it is a doll lying under her bed. Sonia looks under the bed and finds the doll, realizing it was given by a strange woman earlier. Disturbed by this, she warns Violet never to accept gifts from strangers and takes the doll away with her. Sonia's mother quickly senses that something is wrong and realizes that Sonia is not happy in this house. When Sonia expresses her fear, saying something feels wrong about the house, her mother tries to calm her down, assuring her that everything is fine and there is nothing to worry about. Even her husband notices her sadness and asks what is bothering her, but Sonia refuses to open up and instead reacts with irritation. Later, while taking a bath, she drifts into another disturbing dream. She finds herself standing in a vast, open field filled with flowers, while a radio nearby reports news about missing children, sending chills down her spine. The next day, while picking up Violet from school, her daughter suddenly asks a haunting question. What happens after death? Shocked, Sonia asks why she would ask something like that. Violet explains that a girl in her class said people die like plants, buried under the soil, never to return. Hearing this, Sonia becomes uneasy and tells her not to think about such things and to avoid talking to strangers. The following day, Sonia is once again alone at home when she hears a knock on the door. When she steps outside, she sees an old woman standing there with a basket of fruits, claiming they came from her tree and introducing herself as a neighbor. But when Sonia refuses to take them, the woman suddenly turns aggressive, hurling disturbing words at her. She says the fruits will make her children healthy and live long, but accuses Sonia of not wanting her children to live, even implying she wants to kill them. In an instant, the woman's behavior shifts into something terrifying, her presence becoming unnatural and frightening. Terrified, Sonia quickly shuts the door, her fear growing stronger than ever. If we look closely at the old woman, she looks exactly like the witch from the Snow White show, making the situation even more unsettling. The scene then shifts into Sonia's childhood, where her father runs a farm, and young Sonia is seen quietly sitting and drawing. But her drawing is disturbing. It shows a killer standing beside her, which immediately angers her father. It becomes clear that this isn't just imagination. She must have witnessed something terrifying in her past. We soon learn the truth. Sonia's father was a cruel man who constantly abused her, forcing her to work on the farm and torturing her without mercy. He was not a loving father, but someone who filled her childhood with fear and pain. The story then returns to the present, where Sonia meets her mother. Her mother apologizes, admitting that even though she knew how cruel her husband was, she never left him. Because of that decision, both Sonia and her mother were forced to endure years of suffering and hardship. That night, Sonia has another dream. She sees herself and her daughter in the same flower-filled field, happily flying kites together, a rare moment of peace in her troubled mind. But the calm doesn't last. In the next scene, Sonia takes her daughter to a cafe, where she suddenly notices a news report about children going missing. From that moment on, things begin to feel wrong around her. She starts experiencing strange hallucinations, visions that don't actually exist. The world around her begins to shift into black and white, playing out like an old, distorted film. Reality itself starts to feel unstable. At one point, Violet suddenly disappears, and Sonia panics, running outside to search for her. That's when she sees something horrifying. An ice cream van, where a man is feeding children severed fingers. And among those children, Violet is there. But just as quickly as it appears, she realizes it's not real. It's all in her mind. Later that night, they are back at home, and Violet is quietly watching TV. Sonia calls her close and reassures her, promising that no matter what happens, she will never let anything harm her. In the next scene, Sonia's husband takes both of them out for fishing, trying to spend time together. But it's clear that Violet is not very close to her father. Instead, she feels more connected to her mother, spending her time painting with her. After they return home, Violet excitedly shows her mother a painting she made. But the painting is strange, dark and filled with an eerie twilight tone. She also shows Sonia a witch doll, and shockingly, it looks exactly like the same woman who came to their house with the fruits. At that moment, Sonia realizes that her daughter is talking about that very same mysterious woman. The next day, Sonia drops her daughter off at school and notices a painter sitting by the roadside, a man she has seen there many times before. The painter calls her over and insists that she take a look at his work. Reluctantly, Sonia walks closer and looks at the painting, and what she sees sends chills down her spine. The painting shows the same children who had gone missing. Terrified, she looks up at the painter, and in that moment, he transforms into a ghostly figure. Panicking, Sonia immediately grabs her belongings and runs away, but within seconds, everything returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. It becomes clear that Sonia's loneliness is pushing her toward insanity, slowly breaking her grip on reality. Later, while she is at home, her husband approaches her and notices that something is wrong again. Concerned, he asks her what is happening to her and what he can do to make things better between them. But Sonia simply tells him that she loves him and hugs him tightly. In that moment, a disturbing memory flashes through her mind. She remembers her childhood, when her father forced her to work endlessly on the farm and often denied her even basic food. One day, she witnessed something horrifying, her father brutally sacrificing a goat. The sight terrifies her, and she tries to run away. But her father catches her before she can escape. The scene suddenly shifts back to the present. Life continues as usual. Her husband leaves for work, Violet goes to school, and once again Sonia is left alone in the house. That's when a plumber arrives at the door, saying he has come to check the house fixtures. Sonia lets him in. While inspecting the kitchen, he discovers a camera hidden inside. It turns out to be Violet's camera, a gift Sonia had given her on her 10th birthday. But the question remains, how did it end up there? That night, when her husband returns home, Sonia tries to explain everything to him. But midway through speaking, she suddenly stops. She rushes to get the camera as proof, but it is no longer where she left it. Frustrated and confused, she begins accusing her husband, believing he took it. Her husband tries to calm her down, telling her that all of this is just her imagination. But Sonia loses control. She starts screaming for her daughter at the top of her lungs. Her husband tries to stop her, but in her eyes, he no longer looks human. He appears as a terrifying demon. Another flashback takes over. We see her father punishing her, holding a goat's skull and showing it to her. He tells her that it is not just a skull, but a demon that will decide her fate if she stays there that night. In reality, he was only trying to scare her. But for a child, such fear becomes deeply rooted trauma. And that trauma has followed Sonia into her adulthood. Back in the present, Sonia begins to see that same demon again. In her childhood, her father would hang the skull and leave her alone in fear. Now, that fear has taken shape in her mind, haunting her as if it were real. The demon appears to chase her, but in truth, it is nothing more than the creation of her own broken mind. Finally, the scene settles back into the present, where Sonia is desperately searching for her daughter's wallet, her fear growing stronger with every passing moment. She calls out loudly for the wallet, searching everywhere in panic, but it is nowhere to be found. Her husband, now completely shaken, looks at her and says something chilling. "Forget about the wallet because it's dead. It will never come back." And in that moment, everything begins to make sense. Everything we have seen so far wasn't real. It was all created by Sonia's mind. In reality, Violet was never there. She had already disappeared, just like the other missing children. All those moments we saw, dropping her at school, talking to her, living with her, were nothing but Sonia's imagination. Her mind had created a false reality to escape the truth. The Snow White scene, the doll, the ice cream man, the skull, all of it was part of her hallucinations. As this realization hits her, Sonia completely breaks down. She collapses onto the ground, crying uncontrollably, overwhelmed by guilt and pain. Through her tears, she says that if only she had gone to pick Violet up from school that day, none of this would have happened. Her husband tries to help her inside, but she remains outside in the garden and eventually falls asleep there. The next day, her husband takes her to a mental hospital, where she stays for a few days under observation. After some time, she is brought back home, and she appears slightly better, but her mind is still not at peace. She becomes convinced that the plumber is the one who kidnapped her daughter and might still have her. Despite this, life between Sonia and her husband seems a little calmer on the surface. Her husband tries to comfort her, saying they can have another child, but Sonia responds with deep regret. Violet never wanted a sibling, she just needed good parents. And then she admits the painful truth, that she could never be a good mother. Later, her husband tells her he is going for a short walk and will return by nightfall. As he leaves, he quietly takes a shovel with him and walks deep into the woods. He reaches a specific spot and begins digging the ground. After a few moments, something horrifying is revealed: a buried skull and Violet's lifeless body. This was Violet's grave. He had come there not just to dig, but to offer flowers. The shocking truth is finally exposed. Violet was never missing. She was murdered inside her own home. But the question remains: who killed her? Her mother or her father? The answer lies in the past. In a flashback, we see Violet during a fishing trip, where she finds a strange skull and becomes fascinated by it. Despite her father telling her to throw it away, she brings it home. She begins making videos with it using the same camera her mother had gifted her on her 10th birthday. One day, her father forbids her from continuing this strange behavior. But Violet refuses to listen. And during that moment, something goes terribly wrong. Her father accidentally kills her. Or at least, that is what it seems. But is that really the truth? Or is there something more hidden beneath the surface? After Violet's death, her father secretly buries her in the woods and hides the truth from Sonia. He tells everyone that she has gone missing. And from that moment on, Sonia believes her daughter is lost, not dead. Overwhelmed by the truth, her husband breaks down, crying uncontrollably as the weight of his actions finally consumes him. And in a shocking moment, he pulls out a gun and takes his own life. Sonia, unaware of what has happened, goes out searching for him. Outside the house, she finds the camera and keeps it with her, not realizing it holds the darkest truth. It is then revealed that the plumber was never real. It was actually her husband in disguise. He had changed his appearance just to retrieve the camera, because it contained something Sonia would never be able to handle. After some time, Sonia reaches the woods, and there, she finds both her husband's body and her daughter's grave. The sight completely shatters her. She collapses, crying helplessly, unable to process what she is seeing. Soon, a police team arrives at the scene and begins investigating. They take the camera and check its footage, and what they discover changes everything. In the video, Violet is seen playing with the same skull, recording herself as she had done many times before. Sonia appears in the frame, trying to stop her, clearly disturbed by what she is doing. She tries to snatch the skull away from her daughter, but in that struggle, something tragic happens. The sharp horn of the skull accidentally slashes Violet's throat, and within seconds, she dies. It was not planned. It was a terrible accident. When Sonia's husband discovers this, he makes a heartbreaking decision. To protect his wife from the unbearable truth, he takes their daughter's body into the forest and buries her in secret. He then creates a false story, telling everyone that Violet has been kidnapped. From that moment on, Sonia believes her daughter is missing, not dead. Unable to cope with the guilt buried deep inside her subconscious, Sonia's mind begins to break. She starts creating a false reality where her daughter is still alive, living normal moments with her. All the strange visions, the hallucinations, the distorted memories, were all her mind's way of escaping the truth. And now, she finally realizes everything. She understands that she is responsible for her daughter's death. From childhood to adulthood, she had only known pain. And now, having lost her entire family, she is left with nothing but guilt, grief, and a shattered reality. With this tragic and heartbreaking ending, the film comes to an end.